I'll give William's one will be a long answer. So, Perak, what happened? They bought 3 people. Simple as that. It was a very slim majority state. I don't think anyone expected Perak to fall to their opponents. It fell. So they found a way, they found weaknesses, and they bought 3 guys. That's all they needed. And I think people fail to realize, in the current system we have in our country, it's not the parliament that decides who has a majority and can be prime minister. After an election, the king decides. I think I said last week or 2 weeks ago, we decide on 222 clowns, and the king decides who's the ringmaster. So the kings and the sultans have a lot of power. They decide who commands the majority, not you, not me. That is the reality. We are not, in essence, yes, we are voting in parties and policies and personalities. The reality is you are voting in 222 people. You know, it's their name and their symbol. There's no dato, there's nothing. It's their name and their symbol. It doesn't have Barisan Nasional or PAP. It's their symbol. So you can buy people. They can walk out of any party. There's no penalty for that. So what happened in Perak was, they bought 3 people. Simple as that. So you had a change of government. They couldn't hold a majority. The Sultan of Perak decided that Miza did not hold the majority, and he didn't have to test it in the assembly. It was him. You have to remember, he's the Lord President. He actually knows his law. So he said, no mate, you don't have the majority. I decide. And that's what happened. It was the class war. Yes, we've always had a class war, and we've used many things to mask that. But I don't think it was in the 70s. You know, I think it started when the NEP was expiring in the 80s. When you have when privatization started, a few people, the lucky ones, got concessions, and they decided they want to keep it. It's about the same time in the late 70s and the 80s when the government decided that there was no English medium schools. So the elites could still study in Harrow and anywhere, could study in many places and continue administering the country, while the peasants learn Bahasa and know nothing. Right? I went to Standard 1 in 1975. My year was the first year we had Malay medium of instruction. I was just lucky. I was in a mission school. Everybody still spoke English. I was fortunate. But not many Malaysians now are that fortunate. And not many Malaysians now can say they can speak English so well. Singaporean diplomats who come to Malaysia have to learn Bahasa Malaysia because they are not confident of their counterparts' English. That's the reality. I'm not touting English as a salvation, but I think English is important. So class war begins with language, right? What other questions? Ken Wong, yes. It wasn't so much of a question. His observations, I've known Ken for a long time, reformasi and all that. I think the lessons of America is a lot more important in Malaysia now because Barisan Nationals, of course, using the Obama campaign as their cookie cutter in Malaysia. So the responses of the American public is equally important to get people out to vote. You know, which brings me to Mr. De Cruz. Yes, EC has done a lot. They've done this. They've disallowed a lot of people their right to vote. We've written a fair number of stories. Maybe not a lot more as people want. But again, yeah, we have failed in articulating it every day that yes, these guys are cheating. But as I say, it's a two-way process. For me, writing a portal, and it's not an excuse, but it's a two-way process. We can write, no change. My friend Nades Warren used to tell me, he's been writing on consumerism for 20 over years. He's not jaded, still continues. He said there's not been any change at all in whatever he writes. He's not frustrated, but he says it as a matter of fact. We don't make the change. We're the catalyst to inform people what's going on. They make the change. You know, as for the EC, yeah, they've deprived 400,000 Malaysians from Singapore, and now they're telling them, you can't come and vote in a Singapore registered car. You know, you can't do that. If you come from Australia, you must come on Malaysia Airlines, not Qantas or whatever. Except Qantas doesn't fly to Malaysia, I think. Doesn't make a difference. But you can do a lot more. We can do a lot more. Everybody can do a lot more. You know, I think one of my trusted sources of news and information always is Global Bersih here and all that. We put up as much as we can. We can do a lot more. But we're the Malaysian Insider. We've decided we want to run stories as impartially as possible and get both sides of the story. The EC, of course, that's the best thing. They deny. And, you know, like today, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim said they were stealing ballot boxes and putting it elsewhere. And conveniently, they have a store in Kajak where they keep these things. So who's to say what? I don't know. I have 5 reporters on the ground. 5 on the English side, 3 on the Bahasa side. My site is free. I said in a forum, another forum, I wish every day I could switch it off and not bother, but I bother every day. Do I need money from all of you? Yes. Simply yes. But there will come a time after elections where we will have to decide what we want to do, what's our future. Every one of you who buys the Star and the NST and gripe and groan about it, you paid the $1 to gripe and groan about it. You want to gripe and groan about me? Yeah, you can. But you haven't paid the $1. Every time you read me, one click, I get 0.001 cent. Google AdSense. Okay? Thanks to all of you. From when I first started Insider, from 1,000 US a month, we get above 15,000 US a month. Which is what, 45, 50,000? Not enough to run a site. My budget a month is 350,000 ringgit. Okay? So tomorrow I sell out. It's not because of the money. I just want a platform where everybody's informed. Seriously. You know, and every day for us in the Insider is a learning curve. We'll never be perfect. We'll never be number one. We don't want to be number one. We just want to be the site where everybody has a stake and everybody tips us off and we verify the news and we put it up. Because we are professional journalists. We are not newspapers. We're professional journalists. Like digital music. Thank you.
Actually, your question, William, was where's the headline? Don't bother voting in GE13, right? I would ask you, what would the point of such a story be? What purpose would it serve? Are we doing any good then if we run a story like that? Because we're not even getting into the ring to fight anymore. We're saying, well, you know, the referee is against us, let's not go down to the pitch, but just give them a walkover. I think that'll be more damaging.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I do exactly what Hassan says. I mean, what is the import of your question? It's not just the Elections Commission. The whole system has been skewed for many years, all kinds of levels, right? Including the fact that the one man, one vote system, what used to be a constitutional check on, you know, what the difference between the largest constituency and the smallest constituency could be in terms of population. Was removed, and we have this completely distorted system. If you're saying that then we don't play the game, what is your alternative? If you're saying, you know, it should be armed struggle or something like that. I'm not quite sure what exactly you want us to do. I think that question needs to come up, and we need to continually to engage critically with these flaws in the system, and that's why I personally believe that we need to change government in order to start to redress those issues. But those issues are complex, they're not that simple. There are parties in Pakistan that might not want to see local elections come into being because they're not going to benefit from it. There are parties that might not want a proportional representation system, say, in the upper house, so we wanted to balance things out so we could have more diversity in our political system. They might not want that. They might want the first past the post system because it benefits them. Once they've occupied the middle ground, what impulse will there be for electoral reform? So these are very complex questions. They don't go away by just taking a single kind of principled position against them and railing against them. I think what people like Ambiga and people at Bersih locally and the politicians here have done is they kept faith with the idea that transformation, even if it's going to be gradual and incremental, must happen that way. The only alternative is not just unthinkable, it's improbable. which is, you know, a violent overthrow of the system. I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago where somebody described the Malaysian electoral system as analogous to the problem that the protagonist in Rosemary's Baby, you know, the movie by Roman Polanski, experienced. Basically, she had the problem. She's going to all these, you know, these figures of authority and appealing against, you know, the people who violated the devil worshippers, only to find out and only to discover that they're all devil worshippers and the whole system is fixed. But what exactly is he counseling? And, you know, except, you know, a politics taking it to the streets and overthrowing this government through mass demonstrations and some form of revolution. I just think it's improbable. So I personally keep faith with those who think that whatever the flaws in the system are, we still can work with it and we can transform it. Slowly, painfully, especially for us who live here, we live the consequences of this choice of kind of gradualism, which is much disparaged through history, but in some sense is perhaps the wiser path.
Yeah. I think I have to clarify something. Okay. Please. I'm obviously not very good journalist because I don't think I communicated my story very well. It is far from the truth to interpret what I'm just saying as let's give up. No, because if I believed that, I wouldn't be with Bersay, and I'm not blowing my trumpet. If I believed that, I would not have flown from Sydney to vote on the 5th of May. And there are nearly 2,000 other people from around the world, some of whom I've worked with, who will be flying back home to vote. So no, I'm not saying give up, I'm not saying walk over. What I'm trying to say is that people like Ambiga can only do so much to make the claims. But then, after that, there's a role that I believe, you know, pardon me, with due regard to you guys, there's a role for the media then to try and verify that claim. Because otherwise, it's simply what? Hearsay. It's what Ambiga is saying, and it's what Wan Ahmad at the EC is saying. You guys are the referee, really. And so, you know, if there's anybody from the special branch recording this, no, I'm not talking about violent overthrow, I'm not talking about demonstrations. In fact, I'm so amazed, I think we should all be very, very proud that we've come so far, because this is a very, very special kind of uprising. You know? This is just people standing up peacefully and trying to do what's right and trying to help the less fortunate, and we should all be very, very proud of that. So no, I'm not talking about anarchy or anything like that. That's all. I just felt I had to say that.
Anything else? We're going to conclude. Is there any other remark or point of view or something?
I have one last question.
Yeah, okay.
Who in heaven's name is Frankie Gunn? Who is he?
Oh, there are now various incarnations. There's also an Indian guy now who's singing this kind of stuff. So anyway, I mean, no, but again, you know, in terms of journalism, I think one of the points of William was quite interesting. This was something that came up in this way of being philosophical sometimes. After the Anwar trial, you know, if we just shifted, you know, from the election commission to the judiciary, for example, and then we interrogate questions like hudud. You know, after, you know, Dr. Mahathir constantly says, you know, Anwar had a fair trial. He had 9 of Malaysia's best lawyers. You could have the world's community of best lawyers defending Anwar, but he was a Monty Python cop. And of course, for within a context in which Islamization has been rising, to see civil law in that way would obviously push you towards, you know, a desire to see a Sharia law and the implementation of hudud. I mean, these things make interesting story ideas. I mean, the Perak thing is also quite interesting because They were allegedly bought. Don't say they were bought, Java. They were allegedly bought. Okay? I mean, there are various interesting angles. I mean, stories that the coup in Perak came straight, after September 16th. So the whole issue of the principle of party hopping and so on. For UMNO, I think it was Padan Muka Anwar. Interesting things about the role of the royalty. Perak is one of those states, for example, in which the successor is not keturunan. He's elected, and elected with the support of the government of the day. And we know that Sultan Idris's son has constantly challenged the legitimacy of Sultan Azlan's line. So all those things make for very intricate and very interesting stories here that require imagination for us to delve in. I'm going to close this by just picking up on Jahava's point about everyone donating literally you're donating 1 ringgit 50 cents when you buy the Star, and falling back on leftist leanings. I'm wondering whether we could get 10 million people to donate 1 ringgit a year so that we can run a newspaper and get paid competitive salaries. I can guarantee that after 3 months you would all enter a state of fatigue and we'd be left. You agree? Okay, thank you very much for coming. This is the last session. Ceramahs are happening, so we'll see you.